Hey guys, this is Balu and today in this tutorial I will show how we can create this kind of CGI iPhone banner advertisement videos using Blender and Adobe After Effects easily. So hope you guys will find the video useful, and without any further delay let's start today's video. So here I am using this footage which I got from Pexels. Download link in the description if you want to use the same. And by the way, here I am not using any FSpy application or AE to Blend add-on which helps to export the tracking data from After Effects to Blender. Instead we will be using scripts. So here are those scripts. I will leave a link in the description for both the files. So one is for After Effects and one is for Blender. Here we need to download both the scripts. So here this is for After Effects, right? Just simply come to this download option and click on this download raw file. It will be downloaded. And now come to this enter page. This is for Blender. Again come to this download raw file option. Here you can see we got this option, right? Just click on that. It will be downloaded. After this is downloaded, we need to install them in After Effects and Blender. So I will show you first in After Effects. So this is After Effects, right? So come to this file, scripts, and here we got this option like install script file. Just click on that install script file and move on to the location where we have downloaded. So this will be in downloads. So select this export composition data to JSON and select it. I have already did that, so I will not do this once again. So once that is done, restart After Effects. So after that you need to allow the scripts to run in After Effects. So go to this edit, preferences, and come to this scripting and expressions. By default this will be disabled. Enable this by clicking on this option and OK. So this is for After Effects, and in Blender I will show you how to do that. So after downloading that file, go to this edit, preferences, come to this add-ons and click on this install. Again move to the file or location where you have saved. Select this file. You can say this is import composition to Blender. Select it, this Python script, and install add-on. It will be installed into the Blender. Okay, so once this is done, now let's come to this After Effects and let's track the footage. So here you can see we got this camera movement, right? So we need to track the camera. So come to this tracker options. If you're not finding this tracker options here, go to this window and enable tracker from here. After that, select the footage, click on this track camera. So it starts to analyze the footage and gives us some tracking points when it is done. So here our tracking is done and we got some track points here. And by the way, come to these advanced options and check for this average error value. Here I got 0.16 pixels, which is very fine. Anything less than 1 pixel is fine. If you got the higher number, just click on this detailed analysis button. It will track once again and gives us better value. Okay, so here this value is good. Now we need to select the track points. So here I want to place the CGI elements, right? So I will select these points, hold left mouse click and simply drag on the track points here like this. So select all the track points here. Now right click and select this create solid and camera. So now if I play this, you can see our track solid is following the camera movements. Okay, so in order to avoid any complication in Blender, let's align this track solid as per the perspective. So I will come to the rotation options and I will rotate it here. So I think this much is fine. And if you want to scale this up, we can do that. So let's unlink this one and okay, and let's position this. So we can adjust this plane later in Blender, but here we want to match the perspective. So I think we need to rotate this a bit. So let's come to this rotation option and let's rotate here. So once this is done, select both the track solid and 3D camera layers. So select both the layers, come to this file, script, and here we got this option, right? Export composition data to JSON. Simply click on that and select a location where you want to save the file and just click on this export option. So now everything is done. Now we can close the After Effects. So now let's import that data into Blender. So in order to import, go to this file, import, select this After Effects composition data and locate the file where you have saved. So this is the file, right? Select it and import AE composition. So here you can see we got this camera tracking points, right? So first of all, let's set this to our footage length. So till here we got the keyframes. So I will change the timeline to 375. And if I press 0, you can see the plane. And first of all, let's import or let's add our background image. So select the camera, come to this camera options here and enable this background images drop down, add image, change this to movie clip since we are using this video clip. Open and select the video clip. So I will select this one and open clip. So now you can see we got our clip, right? So this will be bit opacity reduced, so I will increase the opacity to 1. So now if I play this, you can see the solid is moving as per the camera movement, but it is looking bit off because here in Blender the timeline starts from 1 frame, whereas in After Effects it starts from 0 frame. So we need to move 1 frame forward. So let's, here all the keyframes are selected, and by the way, if these keyframes are not selected, place the cursor here, press A to select all the keyframes, press G and move 1 frame. Now it is starting from first frame. So now our tracking will be proper. Nice. So since here we are using the cloth simulation, we need to make this plane straight. So if I come out of this camera, you can see, if I press 3 on the keyboard, you can see this is not straight here, it is bit slant. So for cloth simulations we want the scene to be straight setup because the cloth falls down, right, because of the gravity. So we need to make this plane straight. So if I manually try to rotate the camera, we lose the data. So instead of that, we need to add an empty and we need to parent all this data to that empty so that we can control this complete camera tracking info. So let's do that. So first of all, let's select the camera. We need to have the cursor on the camera, right? So Shift S and cursor to selected. We got the cursor here. Now let's add an empty. So go to this add empty, select plane axis. Let's increase the scaling here a bit. So first of all, let's parent our camera. Let's select the axis here, select the axis, and after that hold Shift key and select the parent, empty, select the empty. Now press Ctrl plus P for pen, and select this keep transform option. Okay, so in this way we need to parent our plane also. So now select the plane, hold Shift key, select empty, Ctrl P, and select this object keep transform option. Okay, so now we can align our scene here. So now select the empty here, press 3 for side view, and let's rotate this here. So I will rotate this so that our plane comes straight here. So here you can say this is the plane, right? This is the plane, and I think this is aligning properly. So now we got our camera as per the footage. So our real footage is like camera is looking from downside to upwards. So in the same manner, now the camera is adjusted. So now we can move forward onto this modeling part. So first of all, let's adjust the plane accordingly. So select the plane, press tab for edit mode, or else you can change it from here. Select this vertex mode and let's select this vertex and let's align it properly. So I think let it be here. So now we got the plane properly aligned. Now change this to edge selection. Now select this edge here, press E to extrude and X to extrude in X-axis. Again select this edge, E, X and extrude. Again select this above edge, E, Z, extrude it in Z-axis. Select this below edge, E, Z and expand this here downwards. So now change this to face selection. Select this face here. Now press E, S and extrude it inwards. Now again press E and extrude it backward here so that we get a room kind of structure created. Okay, so now let's select these faces here. So select the faces, hold Shift key, select this one and this one. Now come to this, let's change this to material viewport and come to this material options. Click on this new button and let's change this to hold out, and from here surface change this to hold out material. Okay, now we need to select the internal box. So let's change this to shading viewport. Let's select the inner faces of the box. So let's select them first. So hold Shift key and select all the faces. So I think surface, this face, and select these edges also here, this edge and this edge also. So now we need to create another material. So click on this plus icon. Being selected these faces of the box, click on this plus icon and click on this new material and click on this assign button. So this material is assigned to this box. So if I change this color and if I move on to this material viewport, you can see we got the color change also. Nice. So I think this is done. Now press tab key to exit this edit mode. Press 0 for camera view. Okay. So now you can see we got the box structure. So this hold out material will hide out the extruded part of this box material. So if this hold out material is not applied, we will get the extrusion portion visible. So in order to hide that extruded portion, we are using this hold out material. Okay. So now let's move on to this render viewport here. So here we are not finding any footage visible, right? And the scene is also looking dark except this hold out material. So come to this world properties, click on this yellow dot on this color option and change this to environment texture. So here I will be using an HDRI to light up the scene, which I have downloaded from Polyheaven. So open. So here I will use this HDRI and open image. So now we got light in the scene, but we are not finding our actual footage. So in order to get that, come to this render settings and scroll down, come to this film options and enable this transparent option. Now we got our footage visible. And by the way, we can enable this ambient occlusion, change the distance to 5 if you want, enable the screen space reflections and the refractions also. So now we got our basic structure created. So now let's move on to the cloth simulation. Let's change to this solid viewport. And here we will be using cloth simulation, right? So first of all, let's bring our cursor to here onto this plane. So shift S, cursor to selected, we got the cursor here. So now let's start this by creating a cylinder. So the cylinder will be using as mechanism to rotate the banner. So go to this add mesh, select a cylinder RY90 and reduce the scaling a bit. So S, X and increase the scaling in X-axis. Let's place this here. Press 1 for front view. Let's check this. So press S, X and I think this much is fine. And if you want to still reduce the scaling, you can do that. I will leave like this only. Let's bring this forward here. Okay. So first of all, let's rotate the cylinder. So let's see in which direction we can rotate. So change this to object properties. And we need to rotate in this direction. Okay, so here this X rotation and Y Z rotation is set to -90, so we need to lock these positions. So first of all, lock this to -90 and -90 and let's change this to 0. Now add a keyframe for this Y rotation, move to the last frame and we need to rotate in minus axis. So -1000 is fine. Add a keyframe. So if I play this, you can see we got the rotation, but it will not be the same. So in starting it will be a bit slow and it ending will be a bit slow. So we need to make this as a constant rotation. So for that, place the cursor here, press A to select both the keyframes, press a T and make it linear. Now the rotation animation will be same. So let's make this rotation stop at 300 frames. We don't want this to be rotating throughout the timeline. So now let's add cloth here. So for that cloth we will be using plane. So go to this add once again, mesh, select a plane here. Now RX90. So we got a plane. So press 1 for front view and let's place the plane here just below to the cylinder. Now press S, X and increase the scaling X-axis up to this much, I think. Yeah. Now let's increase the scaling in Z-axis. So let's change this to edit mode. Select both the vertex here and drag them below. So I think this much is fine. And we need to bring this plane bit forward, just below to this cylinder. These both offsets should not intersect with each other. So now let's add some subdivisions onto this plane. So press tab key, Ctrl R and add loop cuts here. So here I will be adding some 100 loop cuts. So at this position you can see the number of cuts, right? So I will add loop cuts. So in order to increase the loop cuts, use mouse wheel scroll button, move it upwards to add loop cuts. So 100 loop cuts are fine. Now we need to add loop cuts in this direction. So Ctrl R and add loop cuts. So basically we want the blocks to be in square. So I think 70. Yeah. So now we can see we got this square boxes. Instead of doing this, if we subdivide, we won't get the square boxes, we'll get the boxes in rectangle shape, which will not be good for cloth simulation. So in order to avoid that, I will be adding these loop cuts manually. So now again press tab key to exit this edit mode. So let's save this. Now let's add cloth simulations onto this plane. So being selected this plane, come to this physics property, add cloth physics. So if I play this now, you can see the cloth is falling down. So now we need to make this cloth not to fall down. We need to have this cloth to stay in this position only. So press 1 for front view. Now press tab key for edit mode. Now we need to select the above vertex here. Just select the above vertices. After being selected those, come to this object data properties. Click on this plus icon of this vertex group. Let's rename this to pins and assign. So basically I have assigned all these vertices to this pin group. Okay. So once this is done, come to this physics property once again of cloth simulation, scroll down and come to this shape option, and in pin group we need to assign that group. So click here and select the pin group which we have created. And by the way, come to this catchy options. Here we got the time length of 375 frames, right? So we need to have the simulation, cloth simulation throughout the time length. So we need to change the simulation time length. So I will change this to 375. Okay. So now if I press tab key to exit this edit mode, and if I play this now, you can see the plane will not be falling down. It will be staying in that position only. Nice. So now we need to find a way how to attach this plane, or which is cloth, to make it roll onto this cylinder. So for that we need to create a hook here. So again press tab key. So being selected this vertices here, press Ctrl H, or else go to this vertex option, hook, and select this hook to new object. So now all these pins are selected to this hook here. Now we can exit this edit mode, press tab key, or else change it from here. Now we need to parent this to this rotating cylinder. So for that, let's select the empty here. First select the empty. Now hold shift key and select the cylinder later. Now Ctrl P and select this keep transform option. So now here if I see this, you can say only the above vertex which are added to this cylinder or which are added to the hook are moving. So the reason is simple. Select the plane here, come to this modify properties. Here we need to change the position of this property modifiers. So just bring the cloth modifier below to the hook. So first should be the hook modifier and later we should have the cloth simulation. So now if I play this, you can see the entire plane will be moving along with the cylinder. But here we will have another problem. You can see the plane is passing through the cylinder. So in order to avoid that, we need to select this cylinder, come to this physics property and add collision. So here I will reduce the friction to 1, and now we will have that rolling animation. And by the way, I want the cloth to be interacting with the plane also. So select this plane or this geometry, come to this physics property once again and add collision for this also, and change the friction to 0. Okay. So now if I play this, you can see we got our cloth rolling animation. So select the plane, right click and shade smooth. And by the way, being selected this cloth, scroll down, come to this collision options and enable this self collision also. And quality, I will increase this to 5. Collision quality, increase this to 5. And if you want to change the material or like preset, here if I click on this 3 lines, here you can choose whichever preset you like. So here I will change this to silk. So now this behaves like a silk cloth. So now let's add CGI materials inside the box. So let's come to the starting frame here. So here I will use an iPhone model. So for that I will be using this Blender kit, and by the way Blender kit is free to download. So here I will search for iPhone. So here I got this model, right? Also I will select this one. Just simply click on the image, it will be loaded here. We got this iPhone model, right click and select the objects. So press S and increase the scaling. You can see we got that, right? So this model is attached to this empty. So we can control this model with empty. Let's close this. So first of all, let's place this inside the box shape. So let's bring it here. Let's place this inside. Let's enable this X-ray vision. So first of all, let's add some rotation animation for this. So be on the first frame, select the empty, press I on the keyboard a keyframe will be added here. So let's come to this here. So first of all, let's see where our cloth will stop the rolling animation. So here I want this iPhone to be coming out of this box shape after 200 frames. So after 200 frames, I want this to be coming out. So I will select this empty, which is controlling our phone. So let's select the empty here. This is controlling the phone, right? So till this frame, I want this to be rotating. So I will rotate this here and add a keyframe. Let's press I, and after that I want this to be stay still for some time. Let's bend it here a bit, press I on the keyboard, and after 300 let's come to this 280 frames, and I want this to be coming out of this, and press I on the keyboard once again. Let's bring it here a bit and let's rotate this here. So this is completely, so depending upon your choice, you do the animation here. So here we got the animation. So starting till 200 frames, the iPhone model will be rotating inside, and after that it will come out of the frame. So at this frame it will be coming out. Right now it is not interacting with the cloth because we haven't added any collision onto this model. So let's add collision. So select the iPhone model here, let's select the frame, come to this physics property, add collision, and friction I will reduce this to 0. Okay, so after that it will be rotating once again, and yeah, so I think this much is fine. So we need to bake this once again in order to get the interaction of this cloth when this object is moving forward. Okay, and first of all let's add some materials. So come to this render viewport, first 0 on the keyboard to see through camera, come to this material viewport, now select the cloth. First of all let's add some material onto this cylinder, rotating cylinder. So select the rotating cylinder, and here I will be using this blender kit only to get the materials. So I will look for metal material, and I will apply this material. Now select the cloth. Here on this cloth I will add iPhone banner. So being selected this cloth, come to this shading viewport. So here we are in shading viewport, right? Click on this plus new button to add a new material. Being selected this principal BSDF, press Ctrl plus T to add node wrangler. And by the way, if you not enable node wrangler, go to this edit, preferences, add-ons, and look for node, NODE. By default this will be unchecked. Enable it, save the preferences, and being selected this principal BSDF, press Ctrl plus T. So from here we can add any image you like. So from here I will select a banner, open, and here I got the banner, and open image. So this is bit squeezed here. Now let's fix that. So for that let's come to the scale option and let's increase. Okay, so I think this is fine, and let's come to this position and let's place this at the center. Yeah, so I think we got our banner also ready. So now let's move on to the layout once again. And by the way, if you want to add any wind here so that our banner waves a bit, so you can do that. So go to this add, come to this force field, add turbulence. So here we got the turbulence, right? So I will increase the scaling a bit, and I'll place the turbulence here. Okay, and strength I will increase this to 25. So I think this much is fine. So if you want to have some extra light in the scene, you can do that. So here I will add sunlight. So go to this add light, add sun towards the cloth here. Okay, I think this is fine. Now let's move on to the render viewport, press 0 for this view, and so I think we need to change the HDRI. So here the weather is looking cool, but on this material we are getting that warm tone. So let's change the HDRI. So come to this world properties, let's change this to this clouds, open. Yeah, so I think this is blending properly now. So I think this is matching now. So now let's bake the simulation. So select the cloth, come to this physics properties, scroll down and click on this bake button. So here the bake is done. So if I press 0 and if I play this, You can see we got our rolling animation done properly. So now come to this render settings once again. So here I will be using this render engine cycles. So let's change this to cycles here. Enable GPU compute. Now let's reduce the samples here. So I will reduce this to 32 samples. 32 is fine. If your device can handle more number, you can do that. It will be better quality. And threshold also, I will change this to 0.1. And rest and all I will leave like that only. And light paths, I will change this to 6. I will reduce. And transmission also I will reduce to 6. These all things is to reduce the render time. Yeah, I think this much is fine. Now come to this output properties. So here resolution is set to full HD by default. I will leave this to full HD only. Render region, crop to render region, and frame rate, here we need to match the frame rate according to this footage. So here the footage is of 25 frames, so I will change the frame rate to 25. So change this to 25. And frame range, I will leave this to 1 to 375. And here we need to select the output folder where we can save the files. So I will select a folder. Here I have selected a folder where can I save the output files. And file format, use PNG. And make sure this RGBA is selected to get the alpha channel. So once this is done, go to this render and click on this render animation. So I'll get the output as PNG sequence. Later use any editing software to compose it with the original footage. So in this way we can create this iPhone CGI advertisement videos in Blender along with After Effects easily. So hope you guys have learned something new from this tutorial. If you have learned anything new, please like, share and subscribe my channel to support me. So I'll meet in the next video. Until then, signing off. Take care. Bye.